Okay, I'm going to play you a song as a request as well. It's a true story about my father. Here's another song where I have to tell you the entire story before I sing the song, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. My father was a soldier in World War II. He was stationed in Belgium, and he was a truck driver, and the head of his division. They were supplying munitions to the front lines in the Battle of the Ardennes. And they went into a little town, and they decided to stay in this hotel in the town. That's where they put the soldiers up. And my father fell in love with the innkeeper's daughter. His name was Pierrette. And they had a furious, albeit brief, love affair during the war. Just 18 years old. And they had a very sad goodbye after the war was over. My father left, and he said he was going to come back, but you know the way young men are, and young women as well. So he went home and met my mother, and that's why I'm here today. And Pierrette did the same. She met someone and had a family, and they continued to correspond. So she would send Christmas cards. Every year she sent a Christmas card. You can imagine my mother's delight when they would arrive, you know. But my father would, tell stories about the war, and he would always say, one day we're going to go together. I'm going to take you to Belgium. I'm going to show you where I was during the war. And that never happened. Then one year, it's quite a long story actually, but one year we got a card and Pierrette had died. And my father was very sad about that. I'd never seen him, a little tear came out of his eye. He was a very stoic man. So that was a dramatic moment, but actually Pierrette, well, it's such an involved story. I won't tell you the whole thing, but...
You might as well. The time goes here. You can stay all night talking about it.
Yeah.
Tell us the whole story. Tell us the story. What happened?
Well, so anyway, Pierrette died, and my father and I were going to, as I said, he was promising to take me there, but my father got sick, and we weren't able to take the trip. And I started playing and touring in Europe, and I decided one day that I had a tour in Belgium, and I set aside a day at the end of my tour where I was going to go on a little personal mission of my own, and it was going to go. I didn't tell my father was alive at the time, and I went to the town where Pierrette was from and found her family.
No way.
Yeah, I found her family. And it was, and they knew exactly who I was,
No
when I
way.
came. Yeah, it was, so I guess she had told the same stories that my father had told. She'd
And
been
your dad
telling.
was 18. And how old was she?
She was 18 too, or 17, whatever. And then they invited me to this town to do a concert, which was fantastic. And the whole town came to the concert.
Way.
And they publicized, the most beautiful thing is they publicized the concert. When I got there, there's posters all over the town that said, 50 years after the war, Ruffolo, which is my last name, returns to Batiste, this time armed only with a guitar.
Nice one.
So, I'm going to sing you this song, this story. This is called A Rose for Pierrette. When my father was a young man, with a gun in his hand, he headed across the sea to a strange land. The war was raging in the spring of '45. They did what they must just to stay alive. So they loaded up their green trucks and they headed toward the east. for the rolling Ardennes, a little lazy town called Batiste. He was there, he met a young girl. He asked her for a hand as he fell for the first time in a foreign land. He sold his only cigarettes and he buttoned up his vest. In the pocket of his clothes he put a single white rose for Pierrette. And they lay by the field, by the schoolyard, and they walked hand in hand by the stream, and they knew it couldn't last, but hell, a young boy and a young girl can dream. And then the years roll by like they always do, and the man comes home and they write each other for a year or two. And then he meets my mother, she takes his name, but in the deep and distant corners of her heart, we all know some things remain. And then one day a card came in the midday post, but this was not like the rest, no, this was different than most. He said, we're sad to inform you, we must carry on. Yeah, and that's how we learned sweet Pierrette was gone. So I gathered my thoughts and my credit card miles. I packed my guitar and I boarded a plane. I did it for my dad, I went there in his name. And I found me a driver, I found me a car, I found a tired old soldier in a Belgian bar. I told him my story, and when my story was through, yeah, we both knew exactly what we had to do. So we walked there together to the spot where she lay. And as he stood there in silence on that winter day, my mind filled with wonder, just a touch of regret. But in the pocket of my clothes was a single white rose for Pierrette. Thank you. It makes me wistful, that song.